Welcome back, everybody, to the BaseLINE podcast. I'm your host, Ben Line Newman. Now, guys, as you know, I am a big, happy Bradley alumni, graduating in 2021. But what you may or may not know is that during my time at Bradley, I was a part of Braves Vision, where basically we broadcast every single Bradley sporting event on campus. And with our special guest today, we bring in my former boss at Braves Vision. He just started up a brand new job as the director of creative video at the University of Missouri. Please welcome my special guest, Tim Reusche. Tim, how you doing today?
Ben, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be on this for sure. Help out a former student for sure. Be a guest. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you definitely made a big impact in my career and kind of what I wanted to do. So it's really nice to have you on, honestly.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Now, Tim, to start off, like we just mentioned, you just began this new position as the director of creative video at the University of Missouri. First off, obviously, I want to congratulate you on this new job. It's really great to see. But secondly, just a month into this new job, how have you been transitioning so far?
Yeah, the transition's been something else. It's kind of funny. I was talking to some coworkers yesterday. It's only been a week actually. I think when I officially accepted and all that stuff, it's been close to a month and all that. But yeah, I mean, I feel acclimated already. As with I guess a lot of stuff in today's working world, there's turnover everywhere, people coming and going. But I think the big thing here, what really drew me in is the desire to have stability and whatnot. And I think just me getting acclimated with the students, the staff right away. I mean, yeah, it's been quite the whirlwind so far for me.
Yeah, for sure. And you just mentioned stability. You just took this position after serving as the director of creative video over the past year at the University of at Tulane University down in New Orleans. So, kind of diving deeper into what you previously said, what made you decide to take this new position at the University of Mizzou?
Honestly, I think being able to have the opportunity back at Bradley when I got to know you, and obviously all the other students there, that really helped me fuel my passion, I guess, for helping out the next generation, so to say, the student group. And the journalism school at Mizzou is phenomenal. One of the best in the country, if not the best in the country. And so as a result, there's a lot of kids that want to go out and they want to go to the athletics events. They want to film as much sporting events as they can. They want to cover these student athletes and whatnot. They want to help form the relationship between fans and players, student athletes, I should say. And just that desire and the passion in them. And as I learned, with you all is, being able to show, I guess, my passion and energy, because I know when I bring that energy, it kind of gets infectious. And so I had my first meeting with them last Thursday. So that was day 4 on the job, and I'm telling them all about who I am and I tell them how excited I am. And yeah, I mean, it's that opportunity, the opportunity being able to make video content for the SEC, knowing that the department, not just the person I report to, but the athletic director here is invested in this creative video content that I produce. So I'm 100% sold on all this stuff, and I love it here so far.
Good. I'm definitely glad to hear that. I mean, you just mentioned it. It can definitely be intimidating to meet your boss at first, and even new coworkers and stuff. But when we first met, you just bring on this fun, goofy energy that makes it, really, really lax. And we were really able to connect right away. I think like you and all the student body just right away, just with your energy. So I definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, that's a good point, Ben, because as I've moved along further, different jobs and whatnot, I've learned that I can try to be myself right away, but people aren't always going to see that right away. And so that's where it takes time to build up. Like that first meeting, I wasn't able to have that same rapport as I was, that last meeting or something like that. So, that's something too that takes a while to get people adjusted and whatnot.
For sure. And going off of that as well, as the director of creative video at Mizzou, could you kind of just describe your role for us and what your day to day looks like at work?
Yeah, so I'm responsible for managing all of the sports here besides football for the most part. That's how it is at most of the schools now, from what I understand. And they've sort of followed suit, seeing how the industry as a whole is going, where you have people assigned to certain sports. So Um, Currently in the process of hiring more people, and I imagine when this gets posted, we'll probably still be in that process. But you know, the goal is come next month we have people in place, and we're able to do what the rest of the conference has in terms of people and whatnot. But right now, I really rely heavily on students. So big thing I've learned was going out and showing my face. So I'm starting to meet coaching staff and whatnot. Um, and it's just really delegating work a lot right now because the students, like I said, they want to go out and create videos. And one of my main jobs and objectives, honestly, is to make sure that all these teams get adequately covered. So I'm making sure, from swim meets, wrestling meets to, of course, basketball games, and then coming up softball, tennis, baseball, that stuff in the spring. And so it's a lot of planning right now on the front end.
Now, Tim, obviously, I've gotten to know you a bit, being my former boss at Bradley. But reading more into your career, you've been filming sports since you were 16 years old. So, what really made you want to start filming sports?
I was fortunate enough, my high school, Glenbrook South High School, had a film program there, and that's where I really got started. My sophomore year, to be exact, there was like an intro class where you got to choose between radio and television, and I ended up going towards television. I did a little bit of radio just to try it out, but yeah, television was where my passion was. And honestly, I like doing the cinematic documentary type stuff, but there was an opening to make sports content because nobody really stepped up to that. And I thought, I like sports, so I might as well, try that out. And it really became an avenue for me to find my niche that way. I thought that, really connecting fans to student athletes, and then a little bit at some point to professional athletes. That's been my goal. Trying to share that experience and give an inside look. When you look at just the way this creative content is developed as a whole, you got NBA players having personal content, videographers, photographers, and just seeing how much that's grown. It's crazy, but I do think there definitely is a need and a desire for fans being connected to these athletes, and then in my case, the student athletes here at the University of Missouri.
Yeah, definitely. You just mentioned how it all really started off in high school, but I mean, it's no secret that you have a passion for sports and videography, of course. But where did this love of sports really stem from?
Yeah, so yeah, well, we're getting real into it, Ben. I honestly didn't start liking sports till middle school. It was like, I don't know, different for me. It's kind of where it clicked. I think of the story all the time. My dad does too. I got like a GameCube in like second grade, and I thought that was really cool. And I ended up like pretending I was like sick or acting like I was sick to get out of a baseball practice one day so I could play video games. Um, and then for whatever reason, sixth grade, it clicked that, I want to do sports, but then the idea of practicing and all that didn't really stick to me, I guess. Like I would practice, but I didn't realize like I do now, like how much really goes into practicing and how much you almost treat it like a job in a sense, especially if you want to make it a career in that sense. But fast forward from missing baseball practice in second grade to getting cut from the freshman baseball team when I was bawling my eyes out because I thought I gave it my all. It was quite the turnaround in that sense. But then the fan perspective really drew me in. The more I started to, I guess, have a life, I guess, and get outside and not just, I don't know, watch sports. I've uh, gotten away from being a very passionate fan, but like, growing up, I'm invested in the Bears, devastated when they lose the Super Bowl. But then since the Bears never had a good quarterback, I was a big Peyton Manning fan. I loved what he did, attention to detail, that kind of stuff, being an effective leader and all that stuff. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff stemming from all over the place with that.
Hey man, the GameCube was a great console. I can't blame you for wanting to play it.
Yeah, people still love Super Smash Brothers to this day, man. You see them
Yeah.
talking about it all the time.
Now, Tim, we all find kind of passion somewhere, and you mentioned kind of just what kind of drew you into sports to begin with, but on the videographer side, was there ever really like a videographer you followed or a YouTuber that you enjoyed watching, or even just like a team's broadcast like the Bears that you watched it and went, wow, that's what I want to do for a career?
Yeah, so actually the first thing that really stuck out with sports was just seeing the intro videos that teams made, up on the big screen when you go to professional sporting events. It's something I really loved, and without even realizing it, I've been given a ton of opportunities to make intro videos since I graduated college. Um, so that's really where it started. And then in terms of like inspiration and whatnot, um, I I think the creative content stuff has become very big like recently. So like I didn't really like grow up watching the Bears on social media and stuff, but I think within like the past 4 or 5 years or so, I'm pretty up to date with what's going on with a bunch of NFL teams, college teams, NBA teams, stuff like that. So, and then part of the reason too why I drew here, where my interest was drawn here, because I think the SEC makes the best video content as a whole across the country, and so I saw a place where I can sort of work my way up and help bring a name, to Mizzou and make this a destination for people.
Yeah, for sure. And you just mentioned it too. Like that's honestly been one of my favorite things with this internship with the Jazz is I've been able to see my some of my videos on the jumbotron, and it's such a rewarding feeling to see that.
Yeah, and I think too, Ben, that's a good point, because that I've learned too with students is like sometimes when you go out and you edit a video and it doesn't go anywhere, then you kind of feel dejected. The fact that you've been making quality content there already with the Jazz is awesome. The fact that they're showing your stuff on the video board for those thousands of fans, that's it's got to be pretty cool to see.
For college, you went to Ball State University in Indiana, graduated in 2017 with a degree in digital sports production. What made you decide to go to Ball State for school, and how do you think that this program kind of helped prepare you for the career you have?
Yeah, so I knew I wanted to do this video stuff in college. We're talking about college and whatnot. That's kind of become a divisive topic almost a little bit now today, with all that stuff. But I really value college. I think it's important. That's why I've been staying in college athletics. That's why, I try to encourage, other people like yourself when you were in school, to finish out your degree and whatnot and take advantage of the experience. But um, the whole thing was for a program called SportsLink, and they call themselves the ESPN of Ball State. So we did anything from live broadcast to post production stuff to which featured like feature stories, similar to like E60, 30 for 30 type videos, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And that's really where I got to refine and learn about the different skill sets there. It's kind of funny. Like people kind of like laugh when I tell them my final two choices. So I visited San Diego when I was 15 or 16 or something, and so I loved going out there with my parents and stuff. But then I found out that I wouldn't be able to get involved right away. There are a few other schools I looked at, but then it came down to Texas Christian University, TCU, and Ball State. And the big thing with me at Ball State was the selling point was, yeah, you can get involved right away. Fast forward now, little did I know I could have gone basically anywhere in the country and gotten involved in some way, because you learn the power of just being a student and volunteering your work for free, because you see all these interns across the country working for Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia, you name it. I'm sure there's a fair amount of people that have majors related to that, but a lot of them, your business major, your whatever other major, not related to this video journalism broadcast field. So it's just learning about the opportunities. But again, I think Ball State and a school like Mizzou that really value this kind of stuff, broadcast journalism, I think it's definitely worth it. And that's what drew me over to Ball State, really getting involved right away.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a good thing you didn't go to TCU. It's gonna be really unfortunate when they lose to University of Michigan. But going off of that, Tim, you obviously mentioned SportsLink and the different things you're able to do at Ball State. Obviously everybody needs some experience while they're in college to really, land that first job that they have always dreamed of. But one of these gigs that you were a part of during college, and one that certainly piqued my interest, was that you were a video producer. You had a video producer position at In the Gym Hoops, where you mostly traveled around the Midwest shooting boys varsity basketball. But some of these places that you were able to travel to, I mean, Las Vegas, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Minneapolis, and the one that really got my attention, of course, is my hometown, Grand Rapids, Michigan. So, what was this experience really like for you? And of course, I have to ask what you thought about my hometown.
Yeah, I give you credit, Ben, for researching all that and finding out, because yeah, 100%. I think, I don't know, Grand Rapids is nice, a nice town there, in Michigan. Sometimes, stuff becomes a blur for me. I mean, I would just eat, lunch or dinner somewhere and not really see a lot of the town. But um yeah, with in the gym hoops, obviously got to give thanks and a shout out to Felix Rogers. Uh, he's the one that founded that. He found me my junior year of college. Just shooting a random fall league game. He brought me on, and we were able to work out a deal where I was able to get compensated and whatnot. But that's really, I got to practice a lot. And you see now, it's a whole like this content creation. Everybody has their DSLR or mirrorless camera. Expensive stuff. I had a Sony XA25 at the time, which was pretty high class for recording those highlights and stuff. But the industry has changed, immensely over the 3 years I started to where it is, to where it was then in 2018, and then obviously now in 2020. Like, nobody uses those handheld camcorders anymore. Everybody has some kind of Sony A7S3, A7R4 or something. It's wild, but it's really, I got to practice a lot, and it's something I need to, or and will, reiterate to the students I have, is just getting practice outside of work. When it's your job here to work, you want to uh, have this be like the time to show off your stuff. You want to be able to practice as a student outside, and so I was able to create my own opportunities through that. And Felix was just nice and helping show me the ropes. I was able to help show him some stuff in terms of editing and whatnot. But it's really, I got to, practice and whatnot, the different days in the life I did with the different athletes. And yeah, it was a great time to opportunity to practice and, make a little bit of money, of course, too.
Now, Tim, after graduating from Ball State, it did not take you long to land your first job as you moved down to North Carolina to be a video production assistant at UNC Greensboro. What was that experience like?
Yeah. So I think for anybody, and I think just me following from afar, Ben, you might be able to relate, where like you see your peers and they get that first job right away. It took me 3 months, and like in the scheme of things, like that's really good. Like, my parents were very supportive and whatnot and positive, but like at the time you're just thinking, dang, like, when's it gonna happen? And also at the time too, like sometimes you just sort of jump at the opportunity. I was given a really good opportunity, I guess, looking back, but I declined it because I don't know, I wanted to mess around with the high school basketball stuff for a bit, and then just seeing where I was, I'm like, all right, I think moving to Greensboro would be a great opportunity. But yeah, it was me and another video production assistant, and then the person above us was a video coordinator. Um, and there I did a lot of broadcasting stuff. So I talked about earlier how I had the opportunity to make all these intro videos now. Started at Greensboro. I got to do soccer. I got to do women's basketball. Um, I think, yeah, those were like the two big ones. And then there, the big thing was me directing. I never directed. I didn't get to direct at all in college, but I knew I was ready. I was able to slide in right away. You just got to be on top of your stuff. I think that really carried over to when I went to Bradley there, because as with some of your peers got to experience when I was in the control room. It could be a fun time, it could be a hectic time, it could be a busy time, but my big thing is not tolerating, um, for lack of a better word, I guess, like the little BS, I guess, because try to stay focused, get the job done. But the moment somebody got a good shot, I would praise them. I did that at Greensboro, and able to carry that over to Bradley as well. But my big thing at University of North Carolina, Greensboro, was just getting involved in the business there, learning stuff. And I was so fortunate to have a bunch of teams be so successful there, make the NCAA tournament, because that was something I didn't get to experience in my 4 years at Ball State.
Moving on from that as well, again, the reason that we know each other is that in 2018, you became the director of video and creative production at Bradley University. How did it really feel for you to really land that first major job, with a school that I'm sure you were somewhat familiar with being back in your home state?
Yeah, it was kind of cool because for Greensboro, like my contract essentially, ran out or something, and like I told them, like, listen, I don't want to necessarily come back. I want to see whatever opportunities. just like before, it was 3 months in between, basically, from June to September. Um, and I thought the opportunity to run my own department was great. Now, the caveat was that it's a department of one, me, and the big thing too was trying to, bring you all on and create content, but also too, you learn that you need equipment. The equipment wasn't necessarily there, and so sometimes I was found lending my camera to whoever. But I know you had your own camera, which was great. Um, and I think from really, I guess, your senior year there, that's when the creative content started to, I guess, peek its head out, so to say, and become a little relevant from the student group. Because it was just tough because obviously you all were paid for the broadcast, we're paid for making the creative content, so it was a fine line to walk, I guess. But
You were able to make a big impact for that school and for Braves Vision as well. I mean, Braves Vision was around before you came to Bradley, but I feel like you were really able to take it to that next level. I mean, I remember my favorite parts definitely being a part of the men's and women's pregame shows at times. Those are definitely something that I enjoyed the most. But what can you really say about what you're able to build at Bradley for not only the athletic department but for the sports communication student body as well?
yeah, so I guess it's kind of funny. Hopefully it's not picking it up, but the marketing group here is having a student meeting. It's their year end meeting, and there's like they're like playing around on the court or something. But it's kind of funny because there's a photo group here too, and the standard is that they all have meetings and whatnot, and that's what I tried to implement there at Bradley with you all in some capacity. I think it was usually Monday nights. Um, but I think just being able to sort of bring discipline and whatnot, but also being able to help foster the creativity and the passions you all have. Uh, as you know, a ton of people want to be on air. So how can I create more opportunities for you all? Well, there's the pregame, postgame shows that we had. Um, and so that was a good time for you all to get reps that way. And then I think, eventually slide you over to calling games and whatnot. Because again, that was like the only way I had. And then some other kids would, go outside and call high school games and whatnot. But I think the big thing was just trying to, establish a work ethic with you all, because as you know, in the working world, it is very competitive. The moment you graduate college, the moment you're looking for that first job. And so you want to set yourself apart, and putting down, a hard worker on a resume. That's, you're, one of a however many, dime a dozen, so to say. Um, and the big thing is, showing up in person and being able to do what you've been doing, because I'm sure you're able to, relate and connect with the work you've been able to do at the Jazz. Because like that video that went up on the board, it wasn't just a simple, come to the office one day and edit. Like I'm sure there was a lot that went into it, a lot you had to prove to your superiors that, you could produce content like that.
I mean, any video that I've been working on with the Jazz has been something that, I don't want to slack off with. I want to put my all into it. And, obviously some videos are going to be better than others. But at the same time, as long as you put in your best effort to whatever project that is, I think that's what counts for sure. Now, Tim, obviously you've touched on it a little bit throughout this entire podcast episode, but I'm sure you've been able to do a similar thing to Bray's Vision, like Bray's Vision at Tulane and now Mizzou. But why do you think it is so important for students to have these kind of opportunities to really experience these different facets of a broadcast during their college careers?
Yeah, so yeah, we were talking about passion earlier, and something I've learned along the way is just being culture. There are different spectrums in terms of the student body. I think at the end of the day, students like to enjoy themselves, which I think is great. Something I try to emphasize is always make sure that you all can have a life outside of college, but when it's time to work, to work. Um, and at Tulane, the kids, they study all the time, um, and they enjoy themselves like regular college kids do on the weekend, but then they're also studying too, in between the time they're off. Um, and at Bradley, the fact that you all would take the time to show up to these games, and then, a little less, including yourself in terms of, putting in the extra effort to do these post game shows, I think was great. And then I'm here at Mizzou where some of these kids are working too much, and I'm gonna have to have conversations like you got to tone it back a little bit. Um, we've got almost 30 kids in this group, and my big thing, my message has been everybody eats, and so that means giving the right opportunities to certain people. Um, I think something that worked out well with Bradley was being able to, when you were a senior, give you those opportunities, give your friend Brock those opportunities, because obviously you both earned it and whatnot. And I think here, a lot of it was just, stepping up and filling in the roles. And I'm here to establish sort of, you got to give the seniors the proper respect and whatnot. And I want to make sure they get the confidence to lead whatever projects they can. So then when they graduate, they're in the best position possible to land that next job because again, it's very hard to like simulate the real world in a sense where you tell them what they need to know, because I think that leadership aspect is so valuable. Being able to lead, even if you mess up, it's fine because at least you tried and then the next time, because I think it carries over really well. And I told the student group here on Thursday, was like, man, the first meeting I had with you all, I think it was like the year before, you were in that group, it wasn't the best. And Cameron Irwin, he'll tell you, how awkward I was, talking to me in person. And the fact that I got the experience of talking to you all, the fact that I got the experience of talking to everybody at Tulane, it just made the transition that much more easier here, where I have kids trickling in and out. There's already office hours arranged for them, so I got to meet them that way.
Obviously you've mentioned Tulane briefly, but at the end of the 2020-2021 school year, you did decide to leave Bradley and join Tulane University as the director of creative video. What made you to decide to make this jump down to New Orleans, and kind of talk about what you were able to accomplish during your time there?
I think this is where you and I connect with a little bit, is just our passion for basketball. The fact that basketball was number one at Bradley, I thought that carried weight. Um, and for whatever reason, um, maybe I wasn't getting the looks I thought I should have. But the then assistant athletic director for marketing, Tony Magerio, he saw my work. He saw a position I applied for, told me to apply for a different one, and I ended up getting it. But his big selling point to me was, you're going to run our basketball program. We love where the team is headed. Now, obviously, I have to worry about managing all the other stuff, but I don't have to worry about football. And my big thing was just, focusing on basketball, and, they're invested in what I could do. And also, too, the big thing was growing the student group, having students involved, because they had like 2 students involved the year before. And I was able to like double that to 4. It was technically finished at 3 because somebody had to drop. Again, the opportunity there, and I think being able to go to the American Conference, they pride themselves. They want to call themselves the Power Six. So you have the Power Five conferences, and they would consider themselves the best mid-major conference. And you just see how effective they've been. I mean, this most recently, a couple of weeks ago, from the time this gets posted, maybe a week or two, but Tulane's going to the Cotton Bowl. That's big time. Cincinnati the year before went to the college football playoff, which is huge. Houston in men's basketball, they are a top 5 team in the country, number 1 as we are recording this podcast, right?
Yep.
So there's that big lore there too. And I felt like, through my time at Bradley, there was a lot of learning. Stuff wasn't perfect, but at the end of the day, I was able to leave on a very good note. And again, just the opportunity at Tulane to sort of do what I did at Bradley, but do it there was great. Tulane opened my eyes to a lot of things, how to manage, sort of what helped me, sell myself to get this job here. Was little things I learned at Tulane that carried over. So, and also to just, better equipment, and I wouldn't have to rely on my own equipment. They have stuff for me. They were willing to buy stuff. So yeah, just like, increase in resources, which was a great positive.
You've mentioned in this last question just these different great sporting events that you've been able to see and witness and stuff. I mean, just to name a few, you already mentioned UNC Greensboro making the tournament when you were there. At Bradley, you were part of 3 March Madness teams, 2 for the men's, even with 1 game canceled to COVID, of course. But the women's team also making the tournament for the first time in program history. I mean, Tulane football this year, like you just mentioned, they're going to the Cotton Bowl, finished 14th in the nation. And then, obviously you just made it to Mizzou, but they're already starting off the basketball season 9-0. I mean, you're shooting in the stadium right now. What has it been like to be able to have been a part of some of these really great moments in these schools' histories?
So I think that's part of the reason, I guess, why too, we are talking about earlier about why, sports and that stuff. I think just chasing that high. Um, I learned from the video side is how I really get to be personal and learn the student athletes, learn the coaches, support staff, all that stuff. Through this video stuff because they see me around and I get to be with them and talk with them and whatnot outside of off the court, so to say. Um, but yeah, just like being able to cover all these games, I'm very grateful for it. I've learned too. We've talked about creating your own opportunities, and if you do that enough, you'll be presented with enough. And so, like you said, I was able to maximize my time in college athletics every single year, being able to send a team to the NCAA tournament. I guess last year with Tulane being the exception, but at Bradley, 2 years in a row with the men, one with the women. That was fun. I mean, it's very exhilarating. I never have, and I never will be able to experience that as a student athlete. Definitely, I don't think as a coach either. But being able to have some impact as a videographer, content creator, whatever you want to call, I think is awesome. And being able to carry that over to whatever freelance opportunities I have. So we talk about, these NCAA tournament games and whatnot. Like that's something I definitely want to experience again. Like it is very exhilarating. I remember vividly the one game I went to for Bradley, the most out of all those experiences. Two, because it didn't happen because one time I had COVID, another time COVID canceled the tournament. But it's just that high, I guess you sort of chase in a positive way. But I think too, the little Instagram post I had was the best game ever. I would say it's sort of the pinnacle for me, and what made me kind of pursue others' dreams was the Golden State Warriors playing the Sacramento Kings. It was, I believe, February 20th, something like that, 2022, a couple weeks before COVID shut down, the world basically. But that was the point where I got to work my way up with, current guard for the Warriors, Jordan Poole, as you know, played for University of Michigan. And through him, I was able to work my way out to California and cover an NBA game in some capacity. And that was the coolest thing for me. The way how everything worked out, where the Warriors had a bunch of injuries. Steph was out for the year, Clay was out for the year. Draymond was in and out, essentially out for the year, not really playing that year. So I was able to move around in the arena. It was that first year the Chase Center was there, and it was pretty empty, to be honest. I guess there was a fair amount of people though, so it's not like I could sit anywhere, but there were a fair amount of places I could move to around there. The ushers are really cool with me, and like I just took it all in. I just stayed around as long as I could, and took it all in. And that was the big moment because I've been able to be around a couple more Warriors games since then, but the moment I had there, being able to roam freely, that just that stays with me for the rest of my life, and that's why I want to be invested in other people's dreams because I've had all my opportunities, even though I'm still young, relatively speaking. But yeah, I think being able to be a dream fulfiller is more fulfilling than for myself, so to say.
For sure, it's amazing you just mentioned Jordan Poole because this was actually my next question. But you know, it was something right off the bat that you and I were able to connect with because you had made that working relationship with Jordan Poole. So can you kind of dive deeper into that a little bit? Talk about this relationship you have with Jordan and kind of how that really came to be.
Yeah, so it's I don't know, it's kind of funny because a lot of people would always connect to me over that. Well, one of the coaches at Bradley, Jimmy Foster, he's from the Milwaukee area. He got to know Jordan, his family, the Poole family. So he talked to me a little bit about that because he talked to his dad once in a while. But going into my senior year of college, I was able to cover the Mac Urban Fire over the summer at one of the tournaments in Georgia. It was like the Peach Jam Invitational. And I'm just being around the guys, and we talk about opportunities practicing outside. Like, I mean, I was very awkward. I wasn't really good with talking. I had the head of the Mac Irvin program telling me, "Hey, listen, man, we need you to talk and talk to these players, get them on camera and stuff, be candid." So for whatever reason for me, once it's my job, that switch clicks, inside my head and I just go do my thing. I'm just, walking around with the camera in their faces and they love it and whatnot. But Jordan was the first person I was able to really talk to on my own, I guess. Because I knew some beat writer that covered him in high school in the Wisconsin area, and so we were able to talk about him. And he's like, "Yeah, that's my guy." Um, and then from there, I wanted to do a documentary on him when he was at La Lumiere, and so we linked up through Twitter at the time, and we got that rolling. And he liked that, and so he said, asked me to do a day in the life going into Michigan his senior year. That ended up doing pretty well and was fun. You had to play Fred Van Vliet one-on-one, and that video was almost at 1 million views to this day. Them playing one-on-one with Marcus Posley, a former Ball State grad. So that was really cool to experience. And then I went to, when I was in Greensboro for the year, that was his freshman year at Michigan. They came down to Chapel Hill, so I got to meet up with him after a game one time. And then from there, when I went to Bradley, or I guess that summer going into his sophomore year, I drove up for a couple days to do a day in the life with him. He was able to provide me with housing and all that, so that was dope. Really looking out for me, stuff like that. So that was cool. My meals paid for and all that. And then, I go to Michigan and I just start reaching out to SIDs. And so you look at the power that the players have today in the NBA, that has started to trickle over to college basketball. You can see a lot more individualized people getting in to cover these, big time players because they formed that relationship when they were in high school and whatnot. But anyway, I got to cover a couple of games that were in the Midwest, Illinois being the closest when I was in Peoria. And then over the winter break, I got to cover a game at Michigan, which was really cool. They played Binghamton. I knew I wouldn't be able to get into like these big time games, but being able to like just be there, experience that, made a day in the life of him at Michigan during the game day, and just hang out with him was really cool. And then honestly, I think like with anything, I've sort of been actually experiencing this now with how busy I've been. But you get to the league, and he's somebody that locks in, and he is a dog, so to say, right? He works super hard. He's a gym rat. And that definitely paid off, deserving of that huge contract. That was awesome to see. But the coolest moment, I think for me, outside of, filming that game actually was hearing his name called with the Warriors. Cause, a lot of people were saying, hey, that's a perfect culture fit. He's got Steph, he's got Clay there. The fact that I got to go out there, I went to the practice, I guess the day before the game to talk to him, which was cool. Get it on camera, but yeah, the relationship has died down, to be honest. Getting that out there, I guess, in this medium, so to say. But I was able to get to a couple of Pelicans games because of him. It was really cool. I got to know their vice president of communications over there at the Golden State Warriors. A good connection with the Valley, Raymond Ritter. He is a big Wichita State fan. Think he said he went there. Sorry, Raymond, if I got that wrong. But I mean, he's the people behind the scenes that you don't really hear a lot about, but all the players know him. The hardcore fans do. Of course, the media know him because they deal with him on a daily basis. But it's just been very all encompassing this whole journey. And now to where am I at? Obviously, owe a lot to Jordan, and it was fun.
Being a videographer and a content creator, it really asks for a lot of creativity. And, I feel like a lot of video editors kind of have their own style. Like, for example, I probably use the digital glitch effect in Premiere too much. But how would you, I guess, describe your editing style when it comes to videos?
Yeah, I think for sure, as the more you learn more effects, like you'll try to incorporate them in, right? So big thing I try to tell with these kids here is like, try to practice a new effect. So I learned about like there's like a cutout transition you can do in After Effects. So the frame before like the video cuts to them, you cut them out in that pose, and then like you like transition them over, and like if you go frame by frame, it looks sloppy, but like with the power of editing, it looks nice. And I always try to add like a flash to it. And so, but yeah, my big thing is just trying to learn a bunch of different things, incorporate them in. There's kind of been almost a fight, I guess, or a struggle now where, oh, I don't want to do all these effects and, just cuts looks great now. Or, you try to do all these effects to make, these videos look flashy and whatnot. But um, I think, I don't know, my style has been changing. I try to, so we talk about in the gym hoops. That's where I get to practice editing a lot, and learn different effects. But um, yeah, I don't know, my editing style varies. I think when you do these individual like player-based videos, the editing is definitely very heavy. But when we talk about storytelling, it's just the regular cuts and whatnot, and try to do little stylistic choices. Whether that's altering the photos, putting a filter over that or something. But yeah, I've learned, there's a good balance. You can do too much, but then also you can do too little. So just finding that middle ground.
Now, Tim, we've mentioned it throughout the episode, but obviously you just started this new position at Mizzou. So, what are you looking forward to the most about this next chapter in your career?
Yeah, so I told the students, and I'm going to tell hopefully, the people that I'm able to hire on here too, that we're aiming to be the best. I try to follow the direction of the leader, so to say, whether it's, my person who I report to, my supervisor, or, the athletic director in this case at a university athletics department. Desiree Reed Francois is determined to be the best in the conference in whatever we do, and she pays attention to detail, the little things and whatnot. People are able to pass along whatever messages and keep me alert and ready. And so I think she wants to be the best 100%. We're going to try to be the best. The kids here, they love uh, I guess, chasing, I guess, views and whatnot, which obviously there's a fine balance about it being listened. At the end of the day, they want to make stuff that pops and gets a lot of views. So I think definitely being one of the higher engaged teams in the SEC, and our department here has graciously, come up with a different plan. It's not like we're going to become number one, overnight. It's not like a 1 year thing. It's a 3 to 5 year plan, 6 year plan, however much it is. So incrementally working our way up to the top, um, building there. And it sort of connects to, our time at Bradley, where as a freshman, you want to do this, this, and this, but there's little things that you have to do to eventually get there. And so here again, relating to the students, I got freshmen through seniors here. And it's unfortunate to lose these seniors, but the positive thing about these freshmen is, they could be molded into, more so, I guess, how I can hopefully, have a positive imprint with them. So I think for sure, just trying to be the best in that in terms of, the numbers, but then also to the content, because something that really does well on social media is like, just individual videos, in our little, they call it like creative space, where sometimes the video might not get 1 million views, but it'll get like 100,000, 80,000. But then all the creatives, video, photo, graphic, whatever editors, they comment on that. And so my goal then is to have, video like that, because we want to make a lasting impact. So yeah, being the best, has a lot in it. And again, it's not going to happen next year, the year after that. It's a little bit down the road, but that's the long term goal, I guess. And especially the students, they love that, and they've bought in already, which is cool.
Yeah, for sure. And finally, Tim, just to kind of wrap this episode up, obviously you're able to work with the student body every single day. So for someone to have a similar dream to be in shoes like yours, like what advice would you give them?
Yeah, so I think there's some good gems in here, so to say. I don't want to come off like that, but I mean, honestly though, creating opportunities for yourself is very big. And that's something that connects with, maybe that random business major at Ohio State helping out with the football team, who then by the time he or she graduates, they are able to land that first job right out of college, because of what they've been able to do with the football team there. Um, and maybe like in the case here, I'll reiterate to the kids is, you've been getting all these reps at the university you go to, but how can you get stuff outside? And something I need to bring up to them, which uh, I think kids in general, Bradley were big on, was the internship. That was kind of eye opening for me, because you all were talking about internship. But I think it's great, because you need to be, flexible and have a wide array of skills. Because I think my broadcast background was definitely important with me getting that job at Bradley. and then slowly transition over to just creative video. But yeah, just being well-rounded in a sense, because with everything now, people become super focused on one thing. Sports analogy, like these kids, like pitchers, so to say, right? They grow up and they just pitch, and you hear professional athletes, they say it's important to play all three sports, baseball, basketball, football, or whatever other sport, right? Not just specialize in one sport, because the kids that end up having longer careers overall as a professional are those that, play all three. And plus two, it's a better chance to meet new people, whatnot, which again carries over to, this aspect of doing broadcasting as well as the creative video stuff. So I would just say creating opportunities, try to be invested and involved as much as you can in different things regarded to whatever field you're looking to get in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Tim, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. And, it's really great catching up with you.
Thank you, Ben. I appreciate it. This was a lot of fun.
And that's going to end the episode here, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the BaseLINE podcast. Thank you so much for Tim Reusche for coming on, talking about his career at Bradley and Mizzou and Tulane. It's really nice to catch up with him, honestly. My first major boss in college, really. So it was really great to be able to catch up with him. If you guys enjoyed the episode, please like, subscribe, share with a friend. And as always, if this is your first time watching the BaseLINE podcast, go check out my other videos. Put a lot of time and effort into these, and I would really appreciate that support. If you enjoyed the music, go check out Hidden Harmony. Link for them will be in the description as always. They make some really good music for me. I always really appreciate the work that they put in for this podcast, and they really deserve some credit in my opinion. But with all that being said, guys, thank you again so much for tuning in to this episode of the BaseLINE podcast. I'm your host, BaseLINE Newman, and we'll catch you guys next time.